So the one thing that I wanted to do before the show starts. Do you guys remember your first Raw? First SmackDown?
I know exactly what you're going to talk about because you put the picture in the chat.
Here's the thing. I'm usually the butt of embarrassment when it comes to the show because I'm always crying about something.
With the exception of the last
exception
show.
of the one show where I caught him, lit, right? I'm going to embarrass myself again. So, the picture that's about to go up is me at my very first Monday Night Raw ever. I look a hot mess. This was 9 years ago. It was at Nassau Coliseum. I remember I wanted a Nexus shirt so bad because my real name is Nick, and I'm just like, N for Nick. And my mom's name is Nicole. N for Nicole. Hello? There were no Nexus shirts available.
But you can probably get them right now at WWEshop.com.
Live from Brooklyn, New York. Come on, whoa! You're listening to the Culture 316 podcast.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome to Season 2, Episode 5 of Culture 316. I am one of your hosts.
This is Episode 5?
It's Episode 5.
It feels like this is Episode 20
at
this point.
But
this season has been dragging.
Super dragging. But I'm one of your hosts, Jay the Creative.
I'm the other host, the icon, the don, the legend, the cult of personality, Angelo Carter.
And I feel like every time, once again, like I said earlier in this cold open, I said that anytime we take a break, the entire wrestling world implodes. So we're not even going to waste no time. We're going to get right into it. The first thing is first. What did you want to...
Well, something came up on my Instagram today, which was very interesting. I almost didn't believe it at first, but I was like, yo, you're right. Today's November 9th.
Today's November 10th. Because it's a Sunday.
We haven't watched Full Gear yet.
Very true.
So today's November 9th.
Let's just keep it
today.
Just for
We're
today.
only shooting on a Saturday.
Darn it. Keep going.
We're only shooting on... People always love calling us while we talk.
While we're talking.
You want to put this on silent?
Yeah.
Here we go. So I almost didn't believe it, but yeah, today's November 9th, whatever. 22 years ago today, Survivor Series from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. The infamous Survivor Series where Shawn Michaels defeated Bret Hart via submission in the Montreal Screwjob.
Submission.
What a piece of history. And this is something that WWE cannot seem to stop doing because every time they go to Canada, every time Natty's in a match, every time there's a Survivor Series, every time Natty's in a match, they seem to do something that owed to the Montreal Screwjob. Did I mention every time Natty's in a match?
Literally every time Natty's in a match. But
what a piece of history.
It is. I mean, and I feel like referring back to it isn't necessarily the most damnedest thing that they do, considering that specific incident literally changed the course of wrestling history. True. It's because of that incident that we got the Mr. McMahon character as we know it, which his feud with Stone Cold was the foundation of the Attitude Era, which was the foundation of WWE's most profitable period in time. It led to the departure of Bret the Hitman Hart to WCW, which was the beginning of their downfall.
Four-time champion.
Right. It was the beginning of the downfall of WCW, and it was the beginning of WWE surging back to beat WCW Monday Nitro in the Monday Night Wars. So it is a piece of history. Yeah. I understand why they refer to it all the time because
it's annoying.
It is annoying, but like Montreal Screwjob is, I think it goes up there as far as top 3 most controversial moments in the business.
Yeah.
And so it is a piece of history, and they do refer to it a lot, way more than they should. But I kind of understand why, because it was the beginning of a revolution in wrestling that also kind of further solidified D-Generation X as a heel faction. Yeah. And that kind of put Hunter on the map, and the rest is history. You know what I mean?
Bret Hart, when he left WWF at the time, remember, get the F out? I'm being irritated. When he left WWF, he went on to become a 2-time World Heavyweight Champion, a 4-time United States Heavyweight Champion, a 1-time Tag Team Champion before he retired in 2000. And he did not return to WWE television until 2010.
And he had that WrestleMania match against Mr. McMahon,
in which
we're not even going to talk about that.
He won the United States Championship as
from
well.
The Miz, yeah.
From The Miz. And literally did absolutely nothing in that match.
It was a nice...
He sat in a chair.
He sat in a chair. I remember that.
I remember that very vividly because I was like 3 years into my wrestling fandom.
But yeah, Montreal screw job. I was about to say, I think you left it over there probably. But if you guys think that this is definitely still one of the most regarded segments in WWE history, and if it's as historic as we're saying it is, definitely comment. Let us know what you think. But we're gonna get right into the tea. This past week, the wrestling world has been abuzz over what happened in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Post Crown Jewel, there were a lot of travel complications and snafus, to say the least, which disabled a lot of the roster from getting to SmackDown in Buffalo, and prohibited a lot of superstars from seeing their families. Obviously, there was a lot of chatter about it being money related pertaining to Mr. McMahon's negotiations with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Prince, as far as the feed cutting out and not really broadcasting the event in Saudi Arabia.
It was on like a 40-minute delay.
40-minute delay or something like that, and because of payments, and that's one story, and then you have another story, with Corey Graves as far as mechanical issues with the plane, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to know your take on this entire controversy and what we can make from it as fans, or if we should make anything of it at all.
Here's the thing. There's parts of the argument that I agree with the whole, okay, WWE superstars, they took to social media and they kind of made it this big buzz.
Right.
But, I mean, who wouldn't? They were stuck in Saudi Arabia for 30 hours while waiting to get to a SmackDown show that they weren't going to make at that point. And and it's cool because it led to probably the best SmackDown since the late 2016 SmackDown shows.
Oh yeah.
With the NXT roster kind of invading. But my thing is this, right? I get the whole, okay, we have to stay on one accord, travel issues.
Church
it was just
one accord.
It was just mechanical issues with the plane and blah, blah, blah. But there was mechanical issues with every plane. Like, to me, that doesn't make sense, because then you got 20 of your top guys to charter out to SmackDown, which, Corey, again, on the official WWE podcast, he was like, kind of scolding a lot of the WWE superstars for going on social media, which, in my opinion, what was stopping them from going on social media? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if they feel a certain kind of way about the situation, then they're going to say what they have to say.
Right.
Now, mechanical issues, to me, is not going to have, if I'm Carl Anderson, mechanical issues is not going to, me telling my wife mechanical issues is not going to then have her go on Twitter and say, I don't ever want you going back there again. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause that's basically what she said.
Right.
Mechanical issues doesn't mean Buddy Murphy tweets never again. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, there's obviously more to the story that WWE is keeping under wraps.
Right.
And that's fine. That's what you guys do. That's what you guys have to do. That's fine. But, it's the part where every week you continue to insult our intelligence. And not only that, but not just us as fans, but then, like, you're telling us the story and it's just like, okay, we know there's more to it, but, like, we have to just accept the fact that WWE is going to say it was mechanical issues and that was it. But WWE, they have their little embellishing moments.
Right.
I don't want to do a completely different topic, but circling into the Jordan Myles situation.
Absolutely.
They made a entire thing, and they made a statement where they were like, well, Jordan Myles told us that he was okay with the shirt. He then clarified, he said, listen, I was uncomfortable, so I came back with a different shirt. And I go back to this to say, they have superstars and people on the roster who don't even know they have shirts on WWE Shop.
Yeah,
they'll go,
true.
oh, I have new merch. That's nice. So I'm just like, well, lie number one, travel issues. It takes you 30 hours to get out there. And then and it sounds like the company chartered the top SmackDown guys flight out there to get to SmackDown.
Right.
And then you leave behind a lot of your other SmackDown guys. I was about to say Kurt Angle. Curtis Axel, he's a SmackDown guy. They left him behind.
So I think I'm not gonna. Well, you say the rest.
Luke Harper, he's a SmackDown guy, and even if they're not the top guys on SmackDown that were booked for a match, they all are on SmackDown. Everybody should get an opportunity. Everybody should have been flown out, and now that's
flued out. Baby.
Everybody should have got flued out, and that was it. Everybody should have gotten back in a certain way, or nobody goes back. I understand that Vince and Brock and all of those guys probably flew back midway through the show being over, or flew back as soon as the show was done. All right, cool, get me on my limo, get me out of here, I'm ready to go home type stuff, because I gotta go to SmackDown. But this is indicative of the schedule that these guys work. Do not plan a SmackDown show right after a Saudi Arabia show that's a 14-hour flight. They barely would have made it in the first place.
Legit.
The NXT talent barely made it. Shayna Baszler did an interview and she's like, dude, I got there at 8:05 and literally put my bags down at the concourse and ran. Like, I didn't even stop doing it. She ran to the ring from the concourse. That's literally what she said. Probably not verbatim, but whatever, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But my point is that it's indicative to the schedule. Stop scheduling. Don't schedule something on a Thursday, 14 hours away from Buffalo, where you could have just had an all-women SmackDown. You could have had, a different kind of show. You could have done, WWE back. There's so many different options.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's kind of one of the things that I wanted to talk about, to kind of touch on, was that you had so many options creatively on what to do besides depend on the talent that was coming from Saudi Arabia to produce a television show. So that's number one. I feel like nobody really knows the full story. Like, I feel like we're getting elements from here and elements from here, but
100%.
there's definitely things that are being left out. I also want to mention that I feel like it's kind of unfair that wrestlers, superstars, people a part of WWE are like baffled at the idea that fans would question the moral fiber of something. Like if I'm being held against my will and people are making claims that insinuate that they're being held against their will, like don't look at me like I'm stupid, for trying to figure out what the hell is going on.
Sorry.
You're right.
Especially since there's a lot of those superstars are people that we care about. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're people that we don't know personally, but we care about them as people. So it just, to me, it's just shady. But keep going what you were saying. I'm sorry.
So like, I feel like that is kind of an issue. That's kind of a problem. I also feel like to kind of, at least like, this is kind of like a positive note, like the fact that NXT put on a hell of a SmackDown. That was probably a better SmackDown than any of the ones that I ever saw in the late 2016 kind of era when SmackDown Live first became a thing. I would say
it was just about on par. You know what I'm saying? Like, we had some great main events at that point. We had some great people on the show in those late 2016. Like, we had AJ as the top guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I would put them like on par, maybe slightly above. But I feel like Adam Cole on the show.
But definitely. But I feel like also one of the things that this situation kind of puts into light is kind of like the loopholes that are sports entertainment journalism.
Yeah.
Because you had these rumors from, Meltzer and Brad Shepard and all these different people.
Brad Shepard is not a legit source. Yeah. He's disgusting.
But then it's like, I remember there was one point something came out. It was like WWE is starting to lose their relationship with Saudi Arabia, and then like 2 hours later, it was announced that they got their partnership extended to 2027.
So here's the thing. The partnership was not extended, and they were already signed to a 10-year deal from 2017. And there were already 2 big shows a year. So they announced that to keep the stocks from dropping. And I realized that because I was listening to Brian Alvarez on Wrestling Observer Live. And when he said that, I was like, you're right, because they were signed to a 10-year deal.
That makes sense, actually.
And 2017 to 2027 is 10 years. And they were already doing 2 major shows a year. Starting last year when they did whatever the first show's name was, the Greatest Royal Rumble.
Right.
And then they did Crown Jewel last year, and then they moved Super Showdown this year to being a Saudi Arabia show, and then Crown Jewel. So
Right.
like they're already doing 2 major shows a year, one in June, one in May, June-ish, and one in November, October, November-ish. So, you know, it just, they put that statement out to be like nothing to see here, everything's okay. No, there isn't caution tape. No, there's not tape of a body on the floor. Stop calling us.
Yeah, hold on. This is probably Ebony. Hi, Ebony.
You are live. You're on Culture 316 right now.
Oh.
Yep. Can we call you back in like a few minutes when we're done shooting?
Sure.
Go. In the meantime, go and exegete the text. Okay.
You know what? Thank God for you, blessed saints, with your microphones. Amen. Do what the Lord calleth you to do.
Amen.
Amen.
Praise the Lord.
I feel like
Go
Bray
and
Wyatt
execute
with
that
my
text.
haircut like this.
Are you guys on Facebook?
No, not now. We're just recording.
Oh, okay. I'm about to say, because I'm about to go on Facebook.
Can we leave this in the show?
Yes, we're leaving this in the show.
Okay, good.
Please leave it in the show.
I will leave it in the show. Just like I leave my troubles in his hands. I will call you back, okay?
Okay.
Later.
I feel like Bray Wyatt with this haircut though. With the blonde,
Yeah.
I'm 100% Bray Wyatt.
I hate not these hands.
Hey guys. All right, no, I can't do it. But.
But yeah, going back to the Saudi Arabia, yeah. And it's funny that you kind of bring that up because WWE stock was definitely dropping. But more than anything, the point that I'm trying to get across is that there needs to be an acknowledgement. Not even an acknowledgement. Well, I guess you can say an acknowledgement of fans who want to know what's going. Like, it's not unreasonable to try to figure out the truth when you see a loophole here and a loophole here and a discrepancy here.
And I think it speaks to the bigger thing of, you know, the whole every wrestling fan is a mark thing, or wrestling Twitter is terrible thing. It's, you know, there's 95% of wrestling Twitter is garbage.
Absolute garbage. And we're going to do a whole different show on sports entertainment journalism. But
95% of wrestling Twitter is trash. There are a lot of wrestling fans that are scum of the earth, but then you have people who genuinely care about a lot of these guys. Listen, I'm not the biggest Seth Rollins fan, but Seth Rollins has an army of fans.
Absolutely.
That I'm sure were like, and I'm sure he was one of the guys that ended up getting charted out on that, early flight or whatnot. But I'm sure there were people who were like, dude, like, I'm worried.
But more than anything, Seth Rollins is a human being.
Right.
Who has people that care about him as a person. Like, regardless of how you feel about the Seth Rollins character, the whomever character, I would never wish anything wrong. Huh?
I said Kobe Lopez should be safe.
Yeah, like he should feel safe and secure, like on this trip to Saudi Arabia, which already from the jump kind of raised eyebrows when their partnership was
Let me
announced.
explain something to you. I'm not going. From now, I'm not going.
But we're gonna wrap up
Vince,
this.
I'm not going.
We're gonna wrap up this portion. But
From
if we want to hear your opinions on the Crown Jewel controversy, whatever the case may be, so yeah.
We're like a week late, but it's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. We're here. But anyway, going from that into a bright spot of this Crown Jewel controversy, which was the SmackDown after Crown Jewel, which kind of indicated that there will be a triple threat Survivor Series event. That means that it will be SmackDown versus Raw versus NXT. NXT fired the first shot with their invasion on SmackDown Live. We saw Bianca Belair attack the women. We saw Rhea Ripley and Tegan Nox come out, have a tag team match with Fire and Desire. We saw Shayna Baszler.
It was barely a match. They really just beat him up for like a minute and then, Rhea tapped her out in like the 5 seconds of the match.
Literally. And we saw a lot. Like we saw NXT TakeOver, and it's kind of leading to probably my favorite Survivor Series buildup of the brand competition.
Yeah.
So far.
The one time a year where SmackDown and Raw go
head-to-head in competition. Damn it, Jason Jordan.
Compete against each other in head-to-head competition.
So
I miss Jason Jordan.
But I think one of the brightest points, Well, for starters, I'm going to ask this question. Will this finally and it's definitely establish NXT as the third brand?
Well, I think it was established as the third brand once they were like, we're going to USA.
Right.
So while NXT is still very much, kind of like a developmental thing for certain people, because there was a match, was it this past Wednesday? I don't remember. I think it was Taynara Conti and somebody else. I was just like, what is happening right now? What is going on? So as much as NXT is for certain people who like need it, NXT has always been the third brand.
Very true.
NXT for the last...
Keep going.
I'm trying to remember the first takeover that they did that was attached to like a big four. I think that was Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Brooklyn. Bro, how would I not even know that? My favorite match of all time takes place at that show. Takeover Brooklyn really established them as being like, okay, cool, like we're not here to play. And since Takeover Brooklyn, I don't think that there's ever been in any situation where they have been going on before a Big Four show that there has been that the WWE show is better than the NXT show.
Right.
The NXT show has always been exponentially better. Even the worst takeover was still incredible.
It was better than the fourth. It was better than one of the Big Fours that it was attached to.
And there's no worst takeover. And I'm not saying like worst takeover in terms of like there was a really bad takeover. There's never been a bad takeover. But even the takeover that was the most tame was still exponentially better than whatever Big Four would happen the next day or 2 days later.
And to kind of go off your point, I think that for wrestling fans, for the diehards, for people like us that are actively watching, I don't think this is a question that they've been the third brand. But exactly. I feel like when you think of WWE and you think of press and marketing and branding, you see Raw and you see SmackDown as the two brands. So I think that now while for us it's been the third brand, it's now the third brand to the mainstream audience of WWE that may have not subscribed to the network, that may have not been a diehard fan, they're just a casual, but now they have access to that NXT programming.
Right. Well, that's why I say that when they went live on USA, that's really when they established themselves. I was like, okay, this is the third brand now. This isn't just, now we're live 2 hours, which I miss NXT being 1 hour, but I get it. When they went to being live 2 hours on USA, it made sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're the third brand now.
Definitely.
While I would still love to see a lot of these guys on the main roster, on SmackDown. I need Johnny SmackDown. Like, I want it. I want Matt Riddle. I was about to call him Matt Riddle. I want Matt Riddle on SmackDown. I want Bianca Belair on Raw or SmackDown. I feel like Bianca Belair doesn't matter. She's a star anywhere she goes.
Right.
I feel like I want Tommaso Ciampa on Raw. I want a lot of these guys up. Like, so I feel like this era of NXT, even is very, very comparable, very similar to that 2014, 2015 era, 2016 era of NXT, where you had those 4 or 5 women that were your staples in NXT. You had the 4 horsewomen, Sasha, Becky, Bayley, and Charlotte.
And then you had Asuka.
And Asuka came like later on, because most of the girls went up after Asuka, when Asuka came in. But like, you had your 4 horsewomen in like that 2014, 2015. Then from there you had Asuka and Ember, and you had Carmella and Alexa for a little bit longer. And then now you have girls like Shayna and Bianca and Mia Yim and Io Shirai and Candice LeRae. Like, the NXT women's division is crazy.
Stacked. And may I add something? Shayna is a star. She's been molded into being a star.
Let me tell you something, Shayna.
Shayna's a star.
Stop being a Bailey, because let me explain something to y'all. Y'all don't want to beef with me, because like, I'm gonna see you in the streets. Like, I got beef with you, and I got beef with Finn Balor.
First of all, don't nobody give a damn about Pamela. Secondly, second of all, Shayna is to me, I feel like within the past 5 to 6 months, they have built Shayna up to be a star. At first, it was a little bit hard, but I've grown to like Shayna Baszler. So, with that being... I like Bayley.
Never ever did you disrespect Pamela Martinez.
Honestly, I really like Bayley. I really do. But like, if it's like Shayna Baszler, the submission specialist, the interest in her versus the interest against, can I please talk to your manager? I'm gonna go Shayna Baszler.
Listen. Okay, don't you and these sheep jokes, like she said to Becky. All right,
I'm not gonna lie. And by the way, that stare down, that like confrontation that they had.
Oh my God,
so good.
Becky and Shayna.
Yeah.
First of all,
so good.
I was cooking at the time, and when I saw it was Shayna, I was like, oh my God. You know, I almost burnt what I was cooking because it was just like, I was so interested in what was happening. I wanted to see Shayna, and like that right there had me like, I want to see a singles match
between both of them. And I feel like that's going to end up happening. But I feel like, Shayna is a force to be reckoned with, and I feel like she should be taken seriously. I feel like they've done a good job at preserving her and portraying her to be this dominant heel figure.
Yeah,
so,
whatever.
Triple Threat Survivor Series. How do y'all feel about it? Let us know. Comment
really quickly,
below.
Just the matches that they have. We have. I wanted the New Day to I didn't want the New Day to win.
You said you didn't want them to
I
win?
did not want them to win. At all.
But then again, a Revival, Viking Raiders, and era
Are you
Triple
kidding
Threat
me?
would have been
That
fire.
match would have been, and I'm not denying New Day's ability to go in there, and they will still have like the best
banger.
match. But can you imagine Revival, Undisputed Era, and the Viking Raiders going in there and having a Triple Threat tag team match? Literally, I knew that match was going to be match of the night, and I'm so mad that match is over.
But I think, because Whitney put this in the chat, I think one of them is injured. One of them on the Revival is like injured, or which is the reason why they had to drop the titles, which is trash. But yeah.
What else? I'm sorry. We have Bayley again. Like we said earlier, Bayley versus Shayna Baszler versus Becky Lynch. I am really excited for this match.
Very true.
I honestly think, and I'm not gonna do any like match predictions for real. I think Bayley's gonna win this, and I'm gonna tell y'all why later on.
I think she's too. That's the crazy part.
But they keep attacking Bayley. And whenever they do triple threat matches, if you notice, whenever they attack one person, that one person ends up winning.
Yeah.
So, and then we have Team Raw versus Team SmackDown versus Team NXT for the men and the women. Sasha Banks was announced as team captain on SmackDown this past Friday. What else do we have?
So we also have Brock versus Mysterio.
Brock versus Rey Mysterio.
Now, the funniest part about it is this. Usually, I'm not excited about Brock Lesnar matches. And rightfully so. This man is a one-minute man when it comes to the ring for about 85% of his time back.
I think he likes working with the little guys.
Yeah,
though.
but that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
He works really well with smaller guys. His match with AJ was fire. His match with Daniel Bryan, fire. So, and then on top of that, Brock Lesnar and Rey Mysterio have history. They've had matches in the past. They've had there is a story there. And with the engagement of Dominic, it creates this whole new layer to this story. So I'm very much looking forward to this Rey Mysterio Brock Lesnar match.
You know, and there's so many things that can point to Brock Lesnar being the winner. I could see Rey Mysterio winning this match.
Very true.
You know, I can see Rey Mysterio winning this match and winning the championship. You know, Dominic is the main thing. Cain Velasquez, the main two. Like, Cain Velasquez signed a 3-year deal. Cain Velasquez could just come back and go, boo. And next thing you know, Rey just, like, rolls him up. Or Rey hits him with the Eddie Guerrero and actually, like, wins. You know?
And by the way, Rey Mysterio is a very... Like, people don't recognize how great Rey Mysterio is. Like, he's so good. But that's neither here nor there.
And I think that's it, right?
That's about it for right now.
Okay, yeah. If there's another match, I don't remember. Put it down there.
So, going from that into a Ring of Honor controversy. So, it was recently reported Joey Mercury was an official for Ring of Honor. And when he was released, he spilled all of the tea on Ring of Honor, talking about how there were a lot of times where wrestlers were concussed and there was no medical staff backstage to attend to them. There wasn't any security at some of these events. Yo, that's hilarious.
This is next.
Yo, and the funniest part of it is I would 100% love that podcast.
100%.
But medical staff wasn't there to attend to the concussed. Management didn't know what was going on. There wasn't security at some of these events. And that serves as a big problem. And these are all things that were happening with Ring of Honor over the past couple years, and I guess it's due to, lack of income, things of that nature. Question is, does Ring of Honor need new management?
Yes. I don't know if any of you guys have, but you read it, right? The full everything that Joey Mercury said.
I didn't read everything. Yeah, Joey Mercury. Yeah, okay. It was him.
Because I get him and
Johnny Nitro.
Yeah. No, not Johnny Nitro. The other one. J&J Security.
There
we go. So Joey Mercury had a Twitter thread, that literally lasted for like 100. It had to have been like 100 tweets with pictures and emails and screenshots and stuff like that.
He said, "I have time today."
He said, "Oh, you tried to play me? Handle me? Who gonna handle me? Here is the tea."
Handle me? Oh my God! Here
is the tea. Here is the tea. That's the title of this episode.
Here is the
handle
tea.
Me. Who gonna handle me?
That's math.
Or here's the tea. Whichever one. One of them is the title of this episode. Anyway, but my point is, yes. All of the, and then everything was pretty much refuted by Kelly Klein. That's her name?
Yeah, Kelly Klein.
Everything was pretty much like, yeah.
This really happened.
So to me, that's insane that all of this happened. The fact that there's no real EMTs on call for these matches.
And these are at Ring of Honor pay-per-views where there are ladder matches and table matches and hardcore matches.
People have died, legitimately, on some serious, what if somebody died in the ring?
Then who you gonna call?
What's gonna happen?
Not Ghostbusters.
Who you gonna call? I mean, you can call Jesus, but he already home with the Lord. Jesus gonna be like, I can't do nothing. I gave you the tools to do things.
Come on, free will.
I'm here. I gave you free will. You need to call an ambulance.
So here is, So long story short, Ring of Honor does need new management, and
it's just Ring of Honor need new management. They need money. They need something, because it's just
didn't they just merge with Impact, or they just got bought by Anthem? I think one of the two.
I think Anthem bought them, but it'd be interesting if Impact, which let me tell you something, Impact, literally they have been at the bottom of the volcano.
If you want an indication of the grace of God,
it is
Impact Wrestling.
They literally they were shooting a pay-per-view on Josh Matthews' phone the other day. Yeah. And literally they just got a TV deal, and now they're on Access Television. Impact literally has been at the bottom, the brink of disaster.
For about at least 3 to 4 years.
But literally every time they get to the brink of disaster, someone, the grace of God, God's left pinky toe, goes, here, I'm gonna give you something. And they always manage to continuously have to call on the Lord, because they always do something.
Yeah, literally.
Something dumb.
God just be like, Mercy said no. And
but do you think, because I heard that there's a possibility that Impact and Ring of Honor might merge?
Well, hopefully they got merging money, because that means that you're gonna have to pay all that talent. And I feel like Impact is at a point of profitability now that they're just now being able to see a profit. And it's just do you if you merge with Ring of Honor, then that profit's probably not gonna be seen, because now you have a whole other roster to pay and a whole other roster to deal with. And I feel like also with the merging of Ring of Honor and Impact, it's not like an equal roster. I'm more interested in Impact Wrestling than I am Ring of Honor. And I think that the rest of the wrestling world is more interested in Impact Wrestling than they are Ring of Honor.
Basically.
So it's just I don't want one company to be eating off of what another company is doing. If anything, I would use the same strategy that I use with Impact, with Ring of Honor, make that a profitable entity, and then when they're both equally profitable, then I would merge. So that it's not as if they're on the brink of disaster. Or they could do some type of crossover, because Ring of Honor fans and Impact Wrestling fans are different. So you never know. But what happened?
So Facebook is a gift from the Lord. Facebook is gift.
Stop it.
Somebody said, I love when Walmart play Christmas music. I get in the stealing spirit. Do y'all stop? Do y'all have an off button?
I don't think they do. I don't think Facebook does it.
I need to delete this app, because
To bring this back around to what we were talking about, Ring of Honor does need new management. It is absolutely disgusting and repulsive to have a wrestling company where people's lives are in danger when they perform these feats and you don't have any medical staff and you don't have any security. Like, you don't have any security. You know how many WWE events people have jumped guardrails with the security and you don't have security. As far as I'm concerned, it is the grace of God that y'all ain't having 20-man battle royals with fans. Basically. But I do think that Ring of Honor needs new management. I do, and on top of that, what Ring of Honor tried to do to kind of smooth things over, they had like this public display, we are Ring of Honor, and everybody in the roster was in the ring and they were side by side. I'm like, nigga, that doesn't change. That don't change a damn thing. Just because you can call all 5 people
y'all are
on your
Honor,
roster,
and I'm drinking Starbucks, that literally has
nothing to do. It's just like
nothing
make
to do
sure
with the price of cheese.
Make sure that y'all have the proper resources in place to support, compensate, and protect your performers. And if you can't do that, maybe y'all shouldn't be a company.
How about don't send me to damn South Africa and I have a concussion? How about that? How about that? How about that?
How about the grace of God? But anyway, we want to hear y'all opinion on it. So if Ring of Honor, Ring No Honor, needs new management, comment, tell us how you feel. But I think that is going to conclude our show for today.
Really quickly, before we finish the show, I know that we already addressed the Jordan Myles situation.
Yeah.
Like, in the heat of it on our Instagram story.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
But it's been about
a week and change,
almost 2 weeks since that situation happened. He then went on to make some other comments. He did a video which was taken down where he said WWE doesn't care about black people,
and then flipped the bird. That was
flipped the bird. He went on to call Jay Lethal and Uncle Tom, which I have some thoughts on that. And again, like I said earlier, he showed us the receipts about Baker, whatever his last name is. Basically, random white guy number 1 who works for WWE shop or whatever, graphic design. And my question is to you, did Jordan Myles just like dig a complete hole for himself?
I think he did. I feel like addressing the shirt was definitely not out of order. It definitely needed to be said. It needed to be done. I felt like that was necessary. Talking about Jay Lethal doesn't do anything.
Exactly.
And like there's receipts with Baker. Okay, cool. But talking about Jay Lethal doesn't really do anything. Recording a video and posting it up, that doesn't really do anything because all that it did was just kind of reinforce a point that you already made. Yeah. So it's just kind of redundant.
Not only that, but then that gives the racist ammo.
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like he did like a little bit of overkill, but I also feel as if when it comes to Jordan Myles, I feel like he's bringing attention and awareness to something that has been happening in WWE for a while, and that is the fact that they are tone deaf. 100%. I can say that as a former employee, period. Like I remember going into, I'm not even going to give experiences, but I
was going to say, you about to expose yourself?
No, I'm not going to expose myself on camera, but I feel like I'm not going to sit here and say
even though I exposed you at MetLife Stadium.
Exactly. OD, yo, he works for WWE.
I don't remember this.
I do. I got videos and everything.
Was nice and toe up,
but
flow up.
Like I feel like when it comes to the company, I'm not going to say that they're racist. I think that that's a little bit extreme, and I feel like they are making attempts to be inclusive and diverse. Those are 2 actual words that exist. But I feel like when you have
what
a board,
is diversive, Jordan?
I don't know. That's why I said I don't know what that means. I feel like when you have a board pertaining to any one group of people, if you have an organization and the majority of people are one thing, that company or that board or the decisions are going to lack nuance. They're going to lack perspective. It's going to lack something different. So I'm not saying that it's a problem that all white men are making decisions about this merchandise, but it's going to lack a specific perspective. It's going to lack a specific nuance, and that is going to lead to products and decisions that do not favor other groups of people. That is the reason why diversity and inclusion is important, because the moment that you lack nuance and the moments that you lack perspective, you are going to alienate an entire group of people. Or make them feel as if they're not cared about. And then that leaves the door open for a whole other organization, AEW, to come in and cater to those people that you alienated.
Here's the thing. Like you were saying, it's indicative to the fact that there is a lack of representation behind the scenes. It doesn't matter how many, and I saw a lot of people using this argument, oh, well, the New Day is champion and Kofi was just champion. It don't matter how many titles you put on black people. That doesn't mean that this company is not toned up. That doesn't mean that they don't have some things that they need to work out when it comes to understanding what is offensive to a certain group of people in 2019.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as I'm concerned, there is a lack of representation backstage. I can't speak to that. He's not going to speak to that because I would like to make it to WWE someday. But,
right.
You know, I can't speak to that because I obviously never worked there. I've never been there backstage before. But, you know, you can just tell by the way that certain things are done. You can tell that there's not a lot of black people writing these shows. You could tell there's not a lot of black producers back there. You could tell there's not a lot of people who know how to book black characters, because a lot of their black characters are the same. They smile a lot. They look around. They act like they're idiots. And, you know, or they're cheating, they're pulling the cheating angles like Bobby Lashley. You know, like, I love Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks 1000%, but their gimmicks are very similar. They're not the same. You know, Bianca Belair is a lot more, you know, rugged, and, you know, Sasha Banks
is a little bit more bougie.
Is bourgeois. You know what I'm saying? Because there was a word that, you know, I could use, but I'm not going to use because then ill. But the point is, you know, Bianca Belair has the rough edges and Sasha Banks has the rounded edges, and she's more, you know, bourgeois and stuff like that. My point is, there's people back there who don't know how to book for black people, you know, who don't know how to.
And the funniest part about that is that it's not as if you don't have the resources. My suggestion and my recommendation is that WWE develops a diversity committee.
Exactly.
Like, you have Titus O'Neil.
Bro, you do nothing with him. Use him
in a way that can benefit, because, to be honest, he's the most level-headed. Like, in this entire situation, he offered his perspective, and it was the most balanced. It was the most nuanced, and it kind of gave us perspective into the fact that, wait a minute, this guy can have an executive role in WWE,
and he's
serving diversity, and he's right, and he has the respect of his peers. I feel like WWE should have a diversity committee. It should consist of talent, of producers, of writers who are respected by their peers, and they represent marginalized groups of people. And I feel like you have people already in those positions. You have Titus O'Neil, you have Mustafa Ali, you have Rey Mysterio, you have all these people that represent different backgrounds, that if something were to come up and you have the question of, hey, I don't know if this is offensive or not, you can run it by them and they will give you their honest opinion. And it's just like, bro, not only can y'all cover y'all butts, but you have the resources to do so. So just do it. Do it. If y'all wasting a bunch of money on stuff that don't matter, and if y'all wasting a bunch of money on the production of shirts and merchandise and things that are costing you, that are devaluing the value of your brand, you might as well spend money on something that will help you make better decisions from an executive standpoint.
Long story short,
keep going.
You know, everything that he just said it makes sense. It literally just, it makes 100% sense. You know, listen, I was with Jordan Myles until he released that video. Once he released that video and said what he said about Jay Lethal, like,
you on your own there, brother, man.
To play, right, and to not really to play devil's advocate, but to kind of be somewhat on like a certain part of it. Like, I can see how somebody would feel a type of way. I mean, listen, we don't know how ACH was treated.
We don't.
In Ring of Honor. We don't know how Cedric Alexander was treated in Ring of Honor. He very well could be 100% right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But that's not for you to say. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not a part of this problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you wanted to say Ring of Honor didn't treat me right and blah, 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 you can say that. You know, and I mean, you know, he said what he said. I'm not going to deny, again, I can't say what he said was false or true. You know, it's very easy to see that Jay Lethal is really, isn't he the only black person that's ever been Ring of Honor champion?
I think so, yeah.
Ring of Honor.
The only African American Ring of Honor champion.
I'm not gonna say that as a fact because I don't know and I'm not about to do research because that's OD. But
that's OD.
This is mad work. I'm not doing that right now. But long story short is, I was with you until you went off on your little tangent. Now I don't think WWE fires him anytime soon, but I think they will fire him probably come next year. Like literally, once we hit January 1st, I'm sure we'll get we wish, not even a future endeavors. It'll be WWE has come to terms with the release of Albert Hardy Jr.
Yeah, they're going to hit him with the Enzo. Like
no well wishes, no nothing like that.
Just bye.
And you know, it sucks because ACH is a great wrestler.
Great wrestler.
ACH is a fantastic person, and he's a great person to have at the forefront of your brand. You know what I'm saying? You know, ACH would have been a great, I'm about to say Intercontinental Champion, North American Champion, maybe even NXT Champion at some point.
Maybe NXT Cruiserweight Championship, because that's a thing now.
Right. They put a lot behind him, especially since they had him win that breakout tournament and had him in a match against Adam Cole. So as far as I'm concerned, you know, like you said, the shirt thing needed to be addressed.
But
everything else,
yeah, he just went overboard.
Did too much.
But anyway, the sun's going down. We have to get to this Full Gear party.
We really do.
So we're gonna sign off.
I gotta get my coquito.
Yo, that's mad funny. But we're signing off. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for another episode of Culture 316, and we'll see you guys next week. Woo!